Hey, everybody, and welcome to another deep dive. Today, we're going to be tackling the first conditional.
Ooh, sounds exciting.
Yeah, it is. I mean, it's one of those things that I think can trip people up if they're not careful.
It can be tricky.
It can be tricky, but it's also incredibly powerful, like when you can really use it well.
Absolutely.
We've got some really cool source material for this one. It's a set of grammar worksheets that are actually designed for U.S. students.
Oh,
So they're very structured. They give us a lot to work with. And we're going to be looking at these worksheets to kind of break down all the little components of the first conditional.
love it.
Yeah. So before we jump into the first conditional, I think it's helpful to maybe zoom out a little bit and just think about conditionals in general. Like, what are we even talking about when we
Right.
say conditionals?
Well, conditionals are basically like saying, okay, if this happens, then this will happen. So it's all about exploring those possibilities, those what if
Context,
scenarios.
like those cause and effect relationships.
Exactly. And they give us a framework for thinking about all those different paths and, those potential outcomes.
Oh, like that. It's like mapping out those different paths.
Yeah.
So within this world of conditionals, the worksheets kind of set the stage by explaining that there are different types of conditionals, right?
Yeah, right.
Each with kind of its own little flavor or like a level of, I don't know, probability or possibility.
Right, exactly. Each one indicates, how likely that outcome is, how likely that then part of your sentence is.
Right. Like how likely is that then to actually happen?
Exactly.
So today we're zeroing in on the first conditional,
Yes.
which I think is probably the one that people encounter most often.
Absolutely. Yeah, it's the most common one.
And it deals with those situations where the outcome is pretty likely or possible.
Right. It's not guaranteed, but it's definitely within the realm of possibility. It's like if you're saying, okay, there's a good chance that this could happen if this other thing happens.
Yeah. And I love how the worksheet breaks it down. They give us that nice classic formula. If plus the present tense, comma, will, plus the base verb.
It's like a recipe for a perfect conditional sentence.
It is. I think even I sometimes forget the exact, like, formulaic structure.
It's easy to get caught up in the mechanics,
Yes.
But I think what's really interesting is how this formula, like you said, it acts as a blueprint for clear communication. That if clause, that's where you're setting the stage. You're laying out the condition.
Right. And then that will clause swoops in, and it tells us what's probably going to happen as a result.
Exactly. It's like a cause and effect chain, all packed into one neat little sentence.
I love that. And one thing that they highlight is that you can flip the order of the clauses.
Oh, yeah, absolutely. You can either lead with the condition or you can jump straight to the outcome. It all depends on, what you want to emphasize.
Right. You can lead with the if, or you can put the if part second.
Right? You've got options.
Yeah. Exactly.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got the basic structure, but it gets even more interesting because they point out that you can use negative verbs in either clause, or even both.
Yeah, you can get really creative with it.
You can.
Sometimes you want to talk about what won't happen.
Exactly. So it's not just about what will happen, but also those things that won't happen if a certain condition is met.
Exactly. So like if I don't do this, then this other thing won't happen.
Right. And I'm trying to think of a good example from the worksheets. Oh, there was one about if you don't study, you won't pass the exam.
Ooh, that's a good one. Gets right to the point.
Yeah, a little bit harsh, but true.
Very true.
Okay, so we're seeing that it's not just about knowing the formula, but also about understanding those subtle variations, those nuances that can make our communication more precise.
Absolutely. And speaking of nuances, there are even a few different ways to express that future action in the will clause, right?
Yeah, they point that out. Like, will is the most common way to signal that future outcome. But you can also substitute, like, be going to, or even the present progressive, that ing verb form.
Right. It can really mix it up.
Yeah. It's all about having those options at your fingertips.
And they all convey a very similar sense of likelihood, but they just have slightly different shades of meaning.
Yeah, so it's about being able to choose the one that fits the situation best.
Exactly.
And one of the things I love about these worksheets is that they give us a bunch of real-world examples.
Yeah, they really bring it to life.
They do. Like, one example is, if you eat too many sweets, you will get a stomachache.
Classic.
Yeah, we've all been there.
It's so true.
Or like, if you practice every day, you'll improve your skills.
Right. It applies to just about anything.
It does. It shows you that it's not just some abstract grammar rule. It's something we use all the time to talk about choices and consequences and all those what-if scenarios that shape our lives.
Exactly. And it's so cool how it helps us to anticipate those consequences and maybe make more informed decisions.
And speaking of what-ifs, There's one part of these worksheets that I think is particularly fun. They have this whole section called superstitions.
Oh, yeah. I love that part.
It's where grammar meets folklore.
It's so fascinating,
It
right?
is. It's like superstitions are a perfect example of how the first conditional can be used to link actions with consequences, even if those consequences aren't exactly, scientifically proven.
Right. Like they might not be based in reality, but they still use that same if-then structure.
Yeah. Like, if you break a mirror, you will have 7 years of bad luck.
Ooh, I still get a little nervous when I break a mirror.
I know, me too.
Yeah.
Even though I know it's not rational,
Right. It's like ingrained in us.
it is. And the worksheets give us a bunch of those classic examples, like, if you step on a crack, you'll break your mother's back.
Oh, that one takes me back.
Right. I remember that one from childhood.
It's amazing how those beliefs can stick with us.
They do. But it's also cool to see that a lot of cultures share similar superstitions. Like, if a black cat crosses your path, you'll have bad luck.
Yeah, that one is pretty universal.
It is, and it just shows that these beliefs have been passed down through generations, and the first conditional is kind of the language that carries them.
It's like a window into how people think.
Right, and I think it's a great reminder that language isn't just about conveying information. It's also about expressing those beliefs and traditions that make us human.
Absolutely.
So before we move on to dissecting the exercises in these worksheets, I want to pause and ask you, dear listener, a question. Think back to those superstitions we talked about. Can you think of any from your own culture that use the first conditional? We'd love to hear them. Now let's dive into the exercises themselves and see what insights we can glean from them.
So these worksheets don't just stop at theory. They
Right.
actually have all these different exercises
Yeah.
to help you really internalize how to use the first conditional.
Totally.
Mm-hmm.
Because it's one thing to kind of know the formula, but it's another thing to be able to actually put it into practice and use it in real life situations.
Exactly. It's like having that shiny new tool in your toolbox. But you got to know how to use it.
Absolutely. So let's take a peek at some of these exercises
Okay.
and see what they can teach us about mastering the first conditional. So the first one they throw at us is a pretty classic multiple choice format.
Yeah. Good old multiple choice.
Yeah, where they present you with a sentence, but there's like a blank.
Right.
And you have to choose the correct verb form to complete that first conditional structure. It's like a little grammar pop quiz.
It is. It is. Just to make sure you're paying attention.
Exactly. So walk me through an example. What kind of questions are we talking about here?
Okay, so imagine you see the sentence, if I blank late for work, my boss will be upset.
Ooh, yeah. Relatable.
And then you have to choose the correct verb form to fill in that blank.
Okay.
So would it be am, will be, or was?
Okay, let me think. Okay, so we know we need present tense after if.
Yes.
So it would be am. If I am late for work.
You got it.
Okay, good. I passed that one.
You did. See, you're a natural.
Well, hopefully our listeners are too. Okay, so that's the multiple choice. What other kind of fun things do they have in store for us?
Well, the next one is called fill in the blanks. And it gets a little bit more creative, I think.
Okay.
So they give you a scenario like, if Sarah forgets her umbrella,
Uh-oh.
then you have to fill in the blanks with the correct verb forms. And you create this chain of likely consequences.
Oh, I see. So it's like a what-if domino effect.
Exactly. And it's cool because it helps you to really visualize how one action leads to another
I like that.
and how the first conditional can kind of map out all those possibilities. It's almost like you're writing a mini choose-your-own-adventure story.
Oh, I love that. Okay, so let's play that game with Sarah.
Right.
What happens if she forgets her umbrella?
Well, if Sarah forgets her umbrella, she will get wet.
Obviously.
It's a classic.
Right, especially here in Seattle,
Exactly.
where it rains all the time.
Uh,
Okay, so she's wet. Then what?
if she gets wet, she will catch a cold.
Oh, no. Poor Sarah.
Yeah, it's not looking good for her.
This is like a cautionary tale
It is.
about always having your umbrella.
Always be prepared.
Okay, so she's wet and she's sick. What's the final domino to fall?
If she catches a cold, she will miss her friend's party.
Oh, man.
Yeah, the worst case scenario.
So this seemingly small decision
Right?
of forgetting her umbrella leads to all of these, other consequences.
Exactly.
That's kind of how life works, isn't it?
It is. One thing leads to another.
Yeah, I like how they did that.
Yeah.
Okay, so we've got multiple choice. We've got this fill-in-the-blanks domino effect.
Yes.
What's next?
All right. Well, next up is a matching exercise.
Okay.
And it's all about, connecting the dots between ideas.
Okay.
So you're given a list of if clauses, and a list of will clauses. And you have to match them up to create grammatically correct and, logical
This
sentences.
is a grammar puzzle.
It is, it is. You got to figure out which pieces fit together.
I like it. So give me an example.
All right, so you might see an if clause like, if you don't eat your vegetables.
Ooh, that's familiar. My parents used to say that all the time.
Classic. And then
Yeah.
you'd have to find the will clause that goes with it.
Okay.
So something like, you won't grow big and strong.
Right, another classic. Okay, so it's connecting those two ideas, the action and the consequence.
Exactly.
I like that.
Yeah.
So did they just stick with those kind of everyday scenarios?
Well, they do a mix. They have some everyday ones, but they also throw in some more unusual situations just to spice things up.
Ooh, okay, I like that. Give me an example of a more unusual one.
All right, how about this? If you find a 4-leaf clover.
Ooh, lucky. Let me see. You will have good luck.
There you go. You match them perfectly.
Okay, good.
See, it's all coming together.
It is. It is.
So you can see it's not just about grammar rules, It's about using language to express all these different ideas and beliefs.
Yeah. Okay, so we've got matching. What else is in this worksheet wonderland?
All right, so next up we have an exercise called Complete the Sentences.
Ooh.
And this one really lets you get creative.
Yep.
They give you the beginning of a first conditional sentence, like, if I win the lottery.
Okay. I like where this is going.
And then you have to complete it with your own prediction of what will happen.
So it's personalized.
Totally.
Oh, I like that.
Oh.
Okay, so if I win the lottery,
That's the first thing you're going to do.
if I win the lottery, I will travel the world.
Oh, nice.
And I will write that novel I've always dreamed of.
Yes.
And maybe even buy a little island.
Living the dream.
Yeah. Okay, so you can really let your imagination run wild with this one.
Absolutely. It's all about applying the first conditional to your own life and your own dreams.
I like that. So what other kind of sentence starters do they give us?
Oh, they have a whole bunch. They range from everyday situations to more fantastical possibilities.
Oh, okay.
How about this one? If I could have any superpower.
Okay, if I could have any superpower, it would be the ability to teleport.
Ooh, that's a good one.
Right. No more traffic jams. No more expensive plane tickets.
Sign me up.
Right. Okay, so you can really have fun with these.
You can. And it's a good way to practice, while also just kind of daydreaming a little bit.
Yeah, it's not all about drills and rules.
Exactly.
Okay, so we've explored those positive what-if scenarios.
Yeah.
But we can't forget about the negative sentences.
Ah, yes, the nots and the won'ts.
Yeah, those can be tricky.
They can, but they're important.
They are, because sometimes we need to talk about what won't happen.
Exactly. Like, what are the things we want to avoid?
Right, and I feel like those negative structures can be a little bit harder to get right.
They can be, yeah.
So what kind of exercises do they give us to practice those negative first conditionals?
Well, they have one specifically called negative sentences.
Okay, straightforward.
Yeah, right to the point.
And how does that one work?
So they give you a sentence starter like, if I don't finish this project on time.
Oh, that's a stressful one. If I don't finish this project on time, I won't be able to relax and enjoy the weekend.
Oh, that's the worst.
Yeah.
But you see how you're highlighting that consequence you want to avoid.
Yeah, it adds a little bit of, urgency to it.
Exactly. And the worksheets give you a bunch of different scenarios to practice with, covering everything from travel plans to social interactions
Okay.
to even those what if I don't anxieties that we all face from time to time.
Oh, yeah, for sure. It's like a little grammar toolkit for all those real-life situations.
It is. It is.
Okay, so we've done multiple choice, fill in the blanks, matching, completing sentences, negative sentences.
We're on a roll.
I'm starting to feel like a first conditional expert here,
You're getting there.
but I'm sure they have more challenges for us.
They do. They do. They wouldn't let us off that easy.
Okay, what's next?
All right. Well, get ready to unscramble some words.
Okay.
Because it's time for...
Scrambled sentences.
Oh, I love a good word jumble.
It's like a little puzzle.
Yeah.
So they give you this jumbled sequence of words, and you have to rearrange them to form a grammatically correct first conditional sentence.
Okay, so it's like a grammar mystery. We have
Yeah.
to put the clues together.
Exactly. And it's cool because it really makes you think about sentence structure and word order.
Right, because word order matters,
It does.
especially in English.
Oh, yeah.
Okay, hit me with a scrambled sentence.
All right, so imagine you see this. The if will rains, we stay inside it.
Ooh, okay. The if will. Okay, I'm seeing the if and the will, so I know I'm dealing with a conditional.
Good. You're picking up on those key words.
And I see rain, so it's probably about the weather.
You're on the right track.
Okay, let's see if I can unscramble this. If it.rains.we.will stay inside.
Yes, you nailed it. Okay, good. I was a little worried about that one.
You did great. You can see it all comes down to recognizing those key elements of the first conditional, right?
Yeah.
And then just putting them in the right order.
Exactly. Okay, so they give us a bunch of these scrambled sentences to unscramble.
Mhm.
What else do they have for us?
Well, since we've been talking about superstitions,
Right.
they have a whole exercise dedicated to them.
Ooh, okay.
It's called, you guessed it, superstitions.
Very creative with the names.
I know, right?
Okay, so how does this one work?
So they give you a list of if clauses, each one related to a different superstition.
Okay.
And your job is to match them with the correct will clauses.
So kind of like that other matching exercise.
Yeah, similar idea, but with a superstitious twist.
I like it.
So, for example, you might see, if you walk under a ladder.
Ooh. You will have bad luck.
Exactly.
I still try to avoid walking under ladders if I can.
I know, me too. It's
Yeah.
like ingrained in us.
Right, even if we don't necessarily believe it. It's like, better safe than sorry.
Right.
Okay, give me another one.
Okay, how about this? If you find a penny, heads up.
You will have good luck.
There you go. You're on a lucky streak.
I am, and I always pick up pennies if they're heads up.
Me too. You never know, right?
Exactly.
So it's fun to see how all these superstitions are expressed using the first conditional.
Right, because it's all about that if this, then that relationship.
Exactly.
And they have a whole bunch of different superstitions in this exercise, right?
They do. They cover everything from luck and love to health and fortune.
Okay.
So you might recognize some from your own culture,
Right.
but you might also learn about some new ones.
Yeah, I like that. It's like a little cultural exchange.
It is. It is.
Okay, so what else is in store for us in this first conditional workout?
Well, the worksheets actually encourage you to go beyond just recognizing those common superstitions.
Okay.
They have this writing exercise where they challenge you to share superstitions from your own culture.
Oh, I like that.
Right, so you can really personalize it and bring in your own unique perspective.
Yeah, it's not just about what's in the worksheets.
Right.
It's about connecting it to your own life.
Exactly. And they encourage you to use the first conditional to express those if-then relationships.
So you're practicing the grammar while also sharing a little bit about your own cultural background.
Exactly. And I think that's a really cool way to kind of like bridge the gap between language learning and personal expression.
I totally agree. Okay, so we've done a lot of like individual work so far with these exercises,
We have.
but I have a feeling these worksheets aren't done with us yet.
Oh, no, they have one more trick up their sleeve.
Okay, what is it?
It's time to get interactive.
Yeah, okay.
Because it's time for the survey exercise.
Oh, a survey.
Yeah.
Like it?
It's fun. So they give you a list of questions,
Okay.
all framed using the first conditional.
Uh-huh.
And the idea is to get up, move around, and talk to your classmates. Or, in your case, dear listener, maybe your friends, your family.
Oh, I see. So you're taking it beyond the worksheet
Exactly.
and you're actually using these questions to
Yeah.
spark conversations.
Yes, it's like a little grammar-themed icebreaker game.
Love it. Okay, give me a sample question from this survey.
All right, how about this? If you could travel anywhere in the world, where would you go?
Oh, that's a tough one. There are so many places I want to go. But if I could travel anywhere, I think I would go to Japan. I've always been fascinated by their culture, their food.
Ooh, yeah, me too. It's on my list as well.
That's beautiful, right?
Yeah, I've heard amazing things.
Okay, so you can see how that one question just kind of naturally leads to a conversation.
Totally.
And it's a great way to practice using the first conditional in a more natural setting.
Absolutely. And it's not just about the grammar, right? It's about connecting with other people and learning about their dreams and aspirations.
Exactly. It's like using grammar to build relationships.
I love that.
Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground with these exercises. Multiple choice, fill in the blanks, matching, completing sentences, negative sentences, scrambled sentences, superstitions, surveys.
Cool. We've been busy.
We have. I feel like we've really explored every nook and cranny of the first conditional.
We've given it a good workout.
We have. But I have a feeling these worksheets aren't letting us off the hook just yet.
Those worksheets, they always have one final challenge.
Oh, I know. The final boss level.
Exactly.
Okay, what is it? What's the ultimate test of our first conditional mastery?
Drum roll, please. It's time for the quiz.
The quiz.
The quiz.
Okay. Bring it on. I'm ready to put all this knowledge to the test.
It's like the final boss level of our first conditional journey. But don't worry, if you've been paying attention and flexing those grammar muscles, you'll be well prepared to conquer this quiz.
All right. Hit me with your best shot. What kind of questions can I expect?
Well, the quiz starts off with some multiple choice challenges. For example, it might ask, if I blank to the store, I'll pick up some milk, and you'd have to choose the correct verb form from options like go, will go, or went.
Okay, let me think. We need the present tense after if. So the correct answer would be go if I go to the store.
Exactly, you're on a roll. The quiz then throws in some fill-in-blank questions to really test your understanding of the structure. For instance, it might say, she'll be thrilled if he blankers that new book. And you'd have to fill in the blank with the correct verb form.
Let's see. She'll be thrilled if he buys her that new book. Got it.
You're acing this quiz. It's clear that you've really grasped the mechanics of the first conditional, but the quiz doesn't stop there. It also includes some sentence correction challenges to really make you think critically about those subtle nuances.
Ooh, sentence correction. Those are always tricky. Ready to put on my grammar detective hat and sniff out those errors.
Excellent. Here's an example. My dog will bark if someone will knock at the door. What do you think is that sentence correct?
Something feels a bit off about that will in the if clause.
Okay.
I see the issue. We don't need the future tense there. It should be, my dog will bark if someone knocks at the door.
Spot on. You've successfully identified a common mistake using the future tense in the if clause. It's a subtle but important distinction that can make all the difference in the clarity of your communication.
This quiz is really making me think, but in a good way. It's like a mental workout for my grammar muscles. And it's reinforcing how important it is to not just memorize rules, but to really understand how the language works.
Exactly. It's about developing an ear for what sounds right and being able to apply those grammatical principles in real-world contexts.
Well, I think it's safe to say that after this deep dive into the first conditional coming, I'm feeling pretty confident in my ability to wield this powerful grammar tool.
That's fantastic. And remember, the journey doesn't end here. The more you use the first conditional in your everyday life, the more natural and intuitive it will become. You'll start to notice it everywhere, from casual conversations to news articles to even song lyrics.
It's like they say practice makes perfect. Or should I say, if you practice, you will improve.
Exactly. You got it.
So what's the main takeaway from our deep dive into these first conditional worksheets? Why should our listeners care about mastering this grammar structure?
If we connect all the dots, I think the key message is that the first conditional is more than just a grammar rule. It's a powerful tool for thinking critically and communicating effectively. It allows you to analyze situations, anticipate consequences, and express your thoughts and ideas with clarity and precision.
It's like having a secret code for unlocking a deeper level of communication. And these worksheets have given us the key to cracking that code.
They really have. They've shown us that learning grammar doesn't have to be dry and boring. It can be engaging, interactive, and even fun.
And who knows, maybe mastering the first conditional will even bring you a bit of good luck. If you're feeling brave, try out some of those superstitions we discussed.
That's a great idea. And if you do let us know if any of them come true, we're always up for a good grammar-themed story.
All right, dear listeners, that's a wrap on our deep dive into the first conditional. We hope you've enjoyed this grammar adventure as much as we have. And until next time, keep those if-then scenarios flowing.